Welcome into this edition of the Oxford Exxon podcast. Chase Parham, Neil McCready here with you from the Clark Ford studio this afternoon, 2:45-ish as we are hitting the button on this Tuesday. A couple big guests with you today. Keith Carter, the Ole Miss Athletics Director, will join us here in about 15 minutes or so, something like that. And then our debut interview with Ole Miss linebacker Chance Campbell. He will be joining the show throughout football season here on the Oxford Exxon podcast, the MPW Digital family of podcasts. So we appreciate him. Appreciate Keith giving us a little time today. We'll tell you more about that as the day and the days move on. But nonetheless, big show coming up here on the Oxford Exxon podcast, the Oxford Exxon Highway 6 West in Oxford. Remember, the new self-checkout is going there at the Blue Sky location off Highway 6. Go in. Don't have to worry about who's waiting on you or how long that takes. Just take care of yourself. We're big proponents of the self-checkout. They are available for you there at the Blue Sky location here in Oxford. You can also download the Speed Pass Plus app, earn points, and save money, and get the lunch special. That's $5.69 every single weekday there at the Oxford Exxon. And again, coming to you from the Clark Ford studio.
We are Clark Ford's in Amory, Mississippi, 662-257-1900 is the number. Call it, ask for Corey Clark. Tell Corey what Ford product you're looking for. He'll send you a quote within 15 minutes in business hours. It's right to the bottom line. No hassle, no haggle. You get your quote, and the rest is completely up to you. You can shop that quote around. You can do what I've done, what I recommend that you do, and that is hop into a Clark Ford today. You will love the product. You'll love the service. Corey and the people at Clark Ford want to take great care of you. Corey always says he wants to be your car guy. He wants to be your truck guy. He'll prove to you what that means when you make the call, 662-257-1900. Keith Carter, Chance Campbell, and all other guests join us on the Rafters Music and Food Hotline. Rafters Music and Food on the Square in Oxford, also in New Albany, and then certainly still very hot, summertime. You can go starting on Wednesdays. What is today? Tuesday? Wednesday. Wednesday and Thursday and Friday, they open at 5. Saturday and Sunday, they open at 11. Frozen margaritas, frozen daiquiris, great food. Not great fruit, great food. They probably have fruit too, but great food. And it's right there on the water. Great waterfront views is what I was trying to say. At Rafters on the water, Rafters on the Square, and Rafters New Albany.
Grapefruit I feel like that's one of the worst fruits. I was going to pick one. That's kind of bitter. Not really for me. That's not.
Yeah,
that's
I like
not
it in
one.
cocktails.
Do you really?
Yeah.
See, even like a Negroni is too bitter for me.
Really?
It's like one of my least favorite cocktails. Just nothing to do with it. Which is kind of weird because most people would say a Sazerac tastes like licorice, but then I have a problem with a Negroni. So it's.
See, on one hand, like I feel like I've been talking to people about this. I've talked to 2 or 3 people. On one hand, like I feel like this would be a really good month to like cut back on drinking. You know what I mean? Just to like hit our body reset.
Yeah.
And on the other hand, I can definitely tell where we're headed with this. I'm about to become even more of a hermit than I normally am. So it's like, well, why the hell would I do that now?
I've been such a weird deal, and everybody makes fun of me. It's been going on forever since hand raised guys last year. Is just how I don't tolerate it very well. I've been a fairly moderate drinker at different points, but I can notice as now, for me really not caring, not having a ton of alcohol at all, that even like one drink, I feel like almost inflammation and things.
Really?
Now that I don't have it. I'm not trying not to drink. I'm not necessarily going sober or anything, but I just I can tell. Huh?
Going sober.
Going sober, yes. I can tell. Okay, fair enough. But I can tell that there's a huge difference in even just like 1, 2. I told you, if I have 2, I don't sleep. I get hot and can't go to sleep and can't stay asleep. For whatever reason, there's a certain level of intolerance a little bit that I've figured out once I've really kind of put it away for the most part. I don't mind having one, but I'm very selective on. Probably a little better with this than you are, and it's not a shot or anything, is I almost go through in my mind, do I really need this? Is this where I'm going to spend one on because I'm going to pay for it with some reason?
Sure.
And I can easily go no and go, okay, well, I'm
sure.
good. Yeah, it's perfectly fine. So.
Yeah. I think really hard about it. Yet I feel like I'm going to be home a lot more like this fall than I thought I was going to be. And so I can't decide. I go back and forth on it.
What's a good reset? 30 days, just like 1 month?
That's what everybody says. Everybody says you hit a 30-day reset. And
Frank Corey does that, right? Like
Yeah.
February or January,
and
right?
that you'll either drink a lot less or that you'll completely stop.
Really?
Yeah.
If you'll actually let it flush out and be completely gone.
Get through the
Well,
withdrawals.
because there is a portion of it that's habit. There's a certain aspect of I'm just used to the mechanisms of listening to the rock in the glass or having the drink or doing whatever habitual thing for your ritual, because it is kind of a ritual that's involved with whatever is going on.
Well, because I don't do much. You know what I mean? I mean, I tell people this all the time. My life is super boring. And so sometimes it's just like at night, I'll just have a glass. Because like you said, it's kind of a habit. You have a glass of something and you turn on like some inane show on the Food Network or whatever. And that's sort of the last thing you do before you just go to bed.
Yeah, I mean, I turn into like a 78-year-old man because I mean, I'll even like try to trick myself and then I'll have some tea or something just to try to like drink something or do something or kind of feel that
decaffeinated tea.
Yeah, like some sort of nighttime tea.
Okay.
There's a peach one that I kind of like.
I have a couple of times this week already,
and
when I say this week, I mean in the last week, when I would normally have a glass of something or a beer or something, I've just had a glass of water, and I found that maybe that was the trick.
Well, most people aren't hungry; they're thirsty.
Yeah,
when they think they're hungry.
Well, food's not my thing.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, food is not what kills my diet. I could skip multiple meals and just not give a damn. But it's the habit of, and I'm making myself sound like I'm just like a raging alcoholic, and you know better.
Yeah,
it's not that. It's just a couple of drinks, But
yeah, the beer's going to think Neil's lining up the bottles.
Yeah, and it's not that at all. I mean, there are days, but not typically.
Yeah, Jay says he's lost like 22 pounds in 30 days not drinking, but you're also cutting calories back way back. You can work out 5 days a week on 800 to 1,000 calories during the week. Yeah, I mean, that seems. I know tough. I'm speaking to Neil over here, but that seems crazy.
No, that's hard. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. We're all over the place. This is all Neil's fault. He mentioned grapefruit, and somehow I turned that into a Negroni, and then we turned it into alcohol. And
you did.
And here we go. So, nonetheless, we got Keith in about 5 minutes. There's a lot of stuff going on. It does feel, I mean, I see a lot of not really jokes, but conversations about it on the thread. We're all hoping we are wrong, but there is a certain feeling of influx on what's coming. What does this look like? That it's an unease that I'm not handling overly well because we thought we kind of weren't going to have to deal with this to this extent, and it's not.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like last July, but it feels a lot more abnormal than I was hoping right now was going to feel. Let's put it that way.
Starting to feel like last August. If you remember last August, they bumped school back 2 weeks. It was kind of nerve-wracking. I remember all the stuff about like Campbell was going through the other side of Rush, and it was all virtual, and it's kind of frustrating and almost makes you wonder if it's seasonal. But, yeah, there's a lot of angst. I can feel it. I do. I can definitely sense there's angst.
At a time for Ole Miss, too, I mean, we'll ask Keith about this, where they are gearing up for capital campaigns, talking about improvements that are coming, all these different things, and obviously the best time for that is not during the middle of a pandemic. So it's at a bit of a crossroads where these next few months dictate a lot of things, it feels like, from an Ole Miss athletics standpoint.
Well, you and I talked about this a little bit this morning, just chatting. Take the athletics out of it for a minute. Ole Miss has a really big, if everything what I'm hearing is correct, and it probably is, they have a really big freshman class due in, which is a great sign after I think they've taken some enrollment hits. I know some specifics on numbers that I probably shouldn't repeat. Like I know my daughter obviously is going to Arkansas, and I have another one that's there right now that's on a rush team getting ready for all that stuff, and their numbers are really high. And it makes you wonder if Ole Miss's numbers are high and Arkansas's numbers are high. I'm going to go out on a limb and guess that a lot of numbers are high, which is great news for everybody. But you got to be super careful if you just start putting a bunch of restrictions on things. A lot of people are just going to say, I'm not going to do this. But I haven't heard that type of I've heard nothing about a move back to virtual classes or any of that stuff yet. And that's the stuff that I've just got my fingers.
Yeah, those are the keys. Yeah, sure.
Those are the words I don't want to hear.
But from an athletic standpoint, you're talking about, you want to obviously stay away from any limited attendance. You want to stay away from.
Yeah, because you can't keep borrowing the money.
Yeah.
At some point, you got to go make the money. And it's hard enough to get people to come to games right now. I'm sure that's something we'll talk about with Keith in a minute. It's hard enough to get people to come to the games. And if you're going to come to the games and there's going to be all these restrictions on you or whatever, more and more people are going to say it's going to be so much easier. Like, I'd been planning to go to Atlanta for weeks, months, and I've pretty much made the decision that I'm not going to go to Atlanta. I'll pay up the Dragon Con debt another day.
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
I'll do it another way, another time, another year, but there's no point in committing money and things to stuff when you don't know what the restrictions are going to be.
Sure. So we'll ask Keith these questions. I'll let Neil start getting him on the phone.
Which am I calling his cell?
Yeah, just call his cell. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
got it. Keith's cell, by the way, is
662. We're on the honor system, guys. Just
yeah. I'm gonna type that out here so I can see it. Nobody call it.
In the spring, when something's going awry at Central Arkansas, stay away from that as best you can.
You don't think he'd mind, do you? Right, he knows it's a FaceTime audio call coming.
I told him it could come from my number, your number, or that Skype number. So I cleared him on all different.
Okay.
Hey, Neil.
Hello, Keith. By the way, you're on live, so don't say anything crazy. You're on live. We'll bail you out here. I just threatened to distribute your number to the masses, but we did not.
That would be appreciated. I really appreciate that.
We told them they could only text you between February and June for really no apparent reason at all. Nothing about that time of year.
Yeah, it's pretty quiet around that time, so that should work.
How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Appreciate you being with us. I don't even know where to start. There's a lot to get to. I'll start here because it's kind of on people's minds. We were talking about this just a minute ago. Obviously, there's a lot of COVID news back in the news this August as there was this time a year ago. As of right now, has all of the, I guess the new talk about restrictions and stuff, has that made its way to athletics?
Yeah, I mean, obviously we're monitoring very closely, the cases and where we are with the new Delta variant, and the numbers, quite frankly, aren't great right now. So we're having those discussions, and what's crazy is a month and a half ago, we're sitting here thinking we're free and clear. We're in a good spot, had a great baseball season, and on into the summer. But now we're right back to some of those conversations that we had last year at this time. So. I think we have a much better handle on it this year. We understand the virus, and even though this one's a little different, we understand, what we're dealing with. We have the proper protocols and things that we know we can do. So yeah, we're definitely having those conversations. But I think really what we talked about internally is that anything that we would have to mandate or potentially do would be an indoor type situation, but. Haven't talked at all about anything we would do for outdoor football or anything like that. We're moving full speed ahead on all of that. So still very encouraged about what the fall can look like, but certainly keeping a close eye on the variant for sure.
How big of a relief is that? I mean, after going through last football season with the partial attendances, and I mean, frankly, most of your tenure has been kind of pandemic related in some point. As of now, to get what you hope to be, the full stadiums and the full attendance for a normal football season, especially with Lane as the coach and the excitement from that standpoint, is it just a bit of a breath of fresh air?
It really is, and again, I think, we've had to kind of get back in that conversation a little bit with COVID and wish we didn't have to do that. But overall, I think we're in a really good spot. We've sold about 32,000 season tickets, which is about what we expected. That's kind of the number that we estimated, and we're right there. And I think there are still some people that are, in that wait and see mode. They want to make sure we're having football. And I think people, last year bought season tickets and then ended up having to push some of their money forward and those type of things. And I think we have some people that are just waiting to see that, maybe they might want to buy a mini pack or a game by game, ticket or those type of things, which is fine too. So I'm not worried about attendance. I think we're going to have full crowds. I think we're going to have a great product on the field, obviously. And, I think it's going to be a lot of fun. But, I went out this morning and watched soccer practice. Our ladies were out there for their first practice this morning, and they're excited to be out there. And volleyball was in there hitting the volleyball around as well. So a lot of good things going on, and really the reason we do this is because we do it for student athletes and them getting to do what they love.
You also announced that thing where people can buy the tickets and kind of get the different assigned seats, right? That was this thing this week.
Yeah, so basically you can, I think it's $299. You can buy that, and the seats are kind of rearranged each week. You don't really know where you're sitting, but it is a little bit cheaper price point, and so maybe that's a good option for folks. And then I think in a couple of weeks, like I said, we're going to start offering some mini plans and then also some game by game ticket sales. So between all that, I think we're going to have a great crowd. And again, I think when we start winning all these games, I think people are going to want to come watch.
Go ahead.
You said that about 32 was kind of what you're hoping for at this point. What is the challenge on just getting some of these people back? I mean, you talked about, I would assume it's a pretty big relief for it not to go on 2 years where they really get out of the habit. But there is a lot of people that, just simply decided home was nice and you're trying to convince them to come back, or they spent money, or they did some in other areas, or they had some other different hobby. I mean, what is sort of the internal conversations on how to make it as much of an event as possible, do different things to maximize that after a last season where people did kind of get out of the habit a little bit? And I know a lot of that is win football games, because at the end of the day, no marketing in the world fixes losses.
Yeah, and let me just clarify real quick. The $32,000 is the full price season ticket. That doesn't include students. It doesn't include the $5,000 we give to the visitors. It doesn't include players and staff, parents, and family members. So, that's just kind of a baseline of full price season tickets. But I think, Chase, we were looking at some of this even pre-pandemic. Mm-hmm. A lot of fans were, deciding that they liked watching games on TV. It was a strategy that we were already talking about, that, hey, we've got to make our in-game experience as good as it can possibly be, because, now you can watch every game on TV. People with families are having trouble, really justifying buying a 7-game season ticket. They're not going to be able to make it to all those games. And so we were already talking a lot about getting unique and proactive on the way we sell tickets. And so I think now it's just kind of bolstered that. I think some of this is a wait and see, that people are just, they're wanting to get past the pandemic. But I don't know that we'll get all these people back, honestly. I think they're going to be watching on TV, and they're going to be coming to 2 or 3 of the big games that they want to come to each year. So we've got to find a way to accommodate all those people and give them, what they want from a season ticket purchasing plan. But, clearly with the new ESPN deal that we have, that's going to go into place in 2024, there's a lot of value to TV, a lot of eyeballs watching it on TV. And so, we're going to have to make sure that we continue to make the in-game experience a really good one.
Yeah, that creates a number of
segued
topics
in
I want
there.
to get to. I don't know if you heard. Did you hear about Texas and Oklahoma joining the SEC?
Well, it's interesting. I was on vacation last week, and so great week to pick to go on vacation. Kind of the seismic shift of the past 50 years in college athletics happens while I'm on the beach. But it was good, and I think that when I first heard about it, Neil, I was excited. I was really excited, and I've been kind of preaching out on the road, talking to donors and different things. We're going to launch this capital campaign here in the next several months, and I've been talking a lot about how it's very important that Ole Miss continues to remain relevant, that we build great facilities, that we keep great coaches, that we do all those things, because I could see this shift in college athletics and conference realignment. What does the NCAA look like? I could see all that coming, and we've been talking about it for a long time. But I think the Oklahoma and Texas, those dominoes just really expedited the process. And so, now you look at what's going on, and I'll be honest, I got some emails and different things from people saying, hey, Ole Miss should vote no. This will never win a championship if this happens, and all this stuff. And quite frankly, I just felt like that was kind of a loser's mentality. I think that we want to be the best, and we want to be involved with the best. And Oklahoma and Texas were going somewhere. They were leaving the Big 12, and if they went to the Big 10 or the ACC, guess what? Then the SEC scrambling for who we're going to ask to join us. Why pass up on 2 of the biggest brands out there? So I'm excited about it. I know our coaches are, our student athletes are, and we look forward to the challenge and having some great competition on the field and the court.
So the Big 12 and the Pac-12 are meeting today, and there's all sorts of speculation about who else has reached out and that kind of thing. And I know you're not going to give away any state secrets if you know them, but I am curious, you've been doing this a while. I don't think you were stunned that Texas and Oklahoma left the Big 12. I doubt if you were super stunned that they came to the SEC. How much more movement do you expect nationally as it pertains to realignment? And if you sort of had to look into your crystal ball, how do you see sort of the SEC looking 10 years from now?
Well, I think that there's going to be quite a bit more movement. I mean, I don't know exactly what that looks like. Does the Big 12 dissolve and join other conferences? Like you said, do they try to work with the Pac-12 and figure out a way to schedule each other and those type of things? I know there's been some conversation around that, but I think there's a lot. Like I mentioned, dominoes. I think there will be many more dominoes that are going to fall. From an SEC standpoint, who knows? I'll give the commissioner a ton of credit because he is always forward thinking. He's always trying to put the league in the best place, to bolster what we already have. We know we're a very strong league. And by the additions of Oklahoma and Texas, I think that did just that. So, if I'm him and he has an opportunity to have a conversation with maybe some other powerhouses or other opportunities, I would be shocked if he wouldn't want to have those conversations. But don't know anything about that. I haven't heard that there's any other conversations happening right now, but I do know that the commissioner, the SEC office, the presidents and chancellors, the ADs, we want what's best for our league, and we'll continue to explore any option to make that happen.
You mentioned facilities. We talked about this, I don't know, last week. We do these every day, and I can't remember whether it was 2 days ago or 6 days ago or whatever. I'm sure you can relate. We did a show where we talked about the future of stadiums and such. We hear recruits talking about having conversations with coaches about facility enhancements, and I know it's something you've talked about publicly, at least to some degree, and I think you guys have some announcements coming later, but we phrase it this way. If money were no object, and I know that it is, but if money were no object and you could do whatever you wanted to do to your football stadium, what would you do?
I think if money's no object and land is no object, I think you would want to kind of start from scratch from a standpoint. If you want your stadium to be symmetrical, you want it to, have all of that pop and sizzle that I feel like what we have right now is kind of 4 different looks in our stadium. And so, what we're looking at doing at some point in this campaign is really a total renovation of the west side of the stadium. Which would, obviously move around from the south to the west. We would try to tie those in, make those look a little more similar, and then even wrap it around to the north to where we would enhance the student section, do some things there to create some social areas and make that a little better, place for them. But what I also want to do, Neil, in this, probably the construction piece of this would not happen in this campaign, but I also want our architect to go ahead and look at what that would look like if we extended it onto the east side of the stadium, so that we do have kind of a master plan for what this stadium could look like. But I think we can get to a really good place. I think that it's long overdue. When you start talking about projects of this magnitude, it's in the hundreds of millions of dollars, and it's just hard sometimes to put your foot on base and say, hey, we're gonna put in the work to do this. But we're dedicated to that. We've already had a lot of preliminary conversations, and we're looking at that. But I think we've got a good footprint. We just got to get after it and raise the money and get it done.
So you're talking about knocking down, down to the studs, the west side. That's what you foresee?
I think it's down to the slab. I don't even think we get to keep any studs. When it's like all said and done. And again, we're very preliminary. We've got a couple of consultants that are helping us, a master planning company, and then another kind of owner's rep that's helping us explore everything. But I think what we're looking at, and again, preliminary, but it's probably going to have to come down to the slab, and then we would start over and go up.
I'm going to get this question, so I'll just ask you, even though you have no idea. That would disrupt one football season in the hopes of how do you play inside the stadium as it's going?
Yeah, at least one, maybe 2, just depending on, if you go the Texas A&M model and you spend half of your project cost, to expedite the process, maybe you could get away with 1, but we're looking at all that again. We're exploring kind of what it would even look like. We'll get to that that portion a little later, but for sure at least 1, but potentially 2.
I would lose so much sleep thinking about that if I were in your spot. I would be such a stressed person that I would wake up like drawing it on the side of the I would drive myself insane. So I'm glad it's you and not me.
Well, it's a big undertaking, and really that's only a portion of the master plan. We've got a big about a $40 million renovation to the Manning Center. We're going to redo softball and soccer. Got phase two of golf. We're going to do some stuff over at the baseball stadium. So I think it's very important when you do a capital campaign and a master plan that you try to touch as many of your programs as you can. I think if you look back to Forward Together, we basically touched every program. Every program had a piece of that, and we're able to add resources and add facilities and better facilities. So I think as we look at this comprehensive master plan, we want to do exactly that.
What is timeline, kickoff, amount? I mean, what's sort of the overall parameters of the capital campaign?
Well, we hope to have some components of it ready to display really soon, maybe within the next month. Okay. We've got some of that, and that would probably be centered around more of our Manning Center renovation. But then probably the big launch is kind of looking around like it might be around a bowl game scenario. So maybe late December, early January, hopefully early January. But that's what we're looking at for kind of the grand launch of the campaign.
What do you want to do? I know you've said this elsewhere, but I don't know that I've seen it. What do you want to do to the Manning Center other than add some things to it and spruce it up? Is it like a gutting it, or is it just some enhancements?
I don't think it's gutting it. I mean, I think the bones of that building are really good. But basically, we would put in a totally new weight room, a renovated weight room, much bigger, much more depth and size, and then a big renovation to the locker room. We would flip-flop some of our existing programming to different places to make it more efficient. And then, like you said, just a general overhaul of graphics and, getting it back to kind of this state-of-the-art facility. Again, the bones are really good. It's very functional for what we need. But at the same time, every coaching staff has a little bit different need. This is something that Coach Kiffin and I have been talking about, really since the interview, since he got to campus, and the pandemic has slowed us down and basically put us a year behind. But we're excited to, hopefully get started with the construction piece of that, in January, February of next year.
Is softball a start over, or is that modification in some way for their stadium?
I think we can modify. We've got a lot of work to do over there. I think the place where it is, the piece of land that it's on is a good piece of land. There's some components I think we can save. But we've got to do some work, and I don't know exactly what that number looks like. I don't think it's a total rebuild, but we're going to have to really do some work. And again, that's what Jamie and I talked about during her interview process, and she came down and toured the campus. That was important to her, and it's important to us. I mean, it's something that we really need. Softball is a sport that's really, really growing, and I think it's a sport that, who knows, at some point it could even be a revenue sport for us. We might start charging admission and seeing what that looks like. But Jamie's doing an awesome job over there, and we've got to turn around and support her in her efforts.
Obviously, just finished the huge baseball project. Well, what does that entail? Some outfield stuff?
Yeah, I think that's it's interesting how projects work. You either kind of go all in on the player amenity or the fan amenity. And if you look at baseball, that's kind of what we've done. When we did the Diamond Club and the seating piece, I think it was 2008 or 9. You kind of went all in with the fan amenity. And then we spent about $22 million on the player amenity with the building down the first base line. And so now we kind of flip back to the fans and see what we can do in the outfields. We've acquired the piece of property back behind right field where those tennis courts are. And so we're going to explore what we could do with that and what that could look like, maybe with an enhanced student section out there. There's been a lot of talk about how the right field and the left field are great at what they are. We just need more. I mean, there's a demand for more people to be out there and those type of things. Do we bring all that right up to the fence and try to create, a little bit more atmosphere there as well? So we're going to explore all that and see what that looks like.
What's been your overall impressions of name, image, likeness over a month?
Well, I think it's been good. I mean, I think that there's been a lot that we expected and a lot that we didn't, and then we've learned. Overall, I think NIL is a good thing. I've used this example. If you're an accounting student at Ole Miss and you're really smart and you create an app on your phone or some small business that makes money, that's perfectly legal. But until July 1st of this year, that wasn't legal for our student athletes. So I think having those opportunities are really, really good. I think there's a lot of layers to this discussion and a lot of unintended consequences to this discussion. So, like I said, we've learned a lot. I think we've had about 80 transactions so far that have come through our platform, which is good. And, for us, I think what we think about is we want to give these student athletes every opportunity, every resource, have a space for them to ask any question that they need. And we want to help them, with this process. But at the same time, from an administrative and compliance standpoint, we obviously, to Neil's point, we wake up at night thinking about, we want to do this the right way. We would never want to jeopardize eligibility or, any type of NCAA violation. So there's kind of two sides to it. But overall, I think it's been good. And, you're seeing some of these stories out there of $1 million deals and, six-figure deals and those type of things. And we haven't had anything like that yet, but who knows?
We get a question all the time. I'm not exactly sure where it's come from, and then I'll see kids kind of hint at it, kids being prospects. So I'll just put you on the spot and ask you, is there anything in the plans to go Jordan brand with Ole Miss?
Well, Coach Kiffin does a good job of teasing Jordans quite often, which is good. But, no, right now there's not. We are looking at our existing Nike deal to see what we could do to enhance it, maybe become more of an elite school with them. But as far as Jordan, I don't really see that in the near future for sure. But I could see us potentially, like I said, enhancing the current deal with Nike. If the stars align a little bit.
While we're talking uniforms, there was a question in the thread, are you going to add red stripes to the white pants? That was in the thread. It's not my question. It was in the thread, so don't get mad at me. Get mad at whoever it was in our YouTube thread.
Yeah, so Neil, this is kind of a running joke in my family because my son is 16, and all he talks about are uniforms, not just Ole Miss uniforms. Like any uniform that pops out, he's like, "Hey, Dad, have you seen this uniform?" I'm like,
he and I should hang out because I'm a uniform guy. So Drew,
you are okay.
Drew and I
would
we would be able to be able to converse for hours on uniforms.
Well, I may put you together so that he won't talk to me about it. But I'm just, and I don't know if this is good or bad. I'm not really a uniform guy. I'm kind of like, if the kids like it, and it helps in recruiting, and then let's do it. Also, I like the traditional uniforms. Like I like the red on the gray pants and all of that. So. We'll talk through all that, but I honestly don't know. I don't have any idea if we're putting red stripes on the white pants. But I have a feeling we'll be wearing the white pants quite a bit this year. But the uniform discussions, they don't always matriculate up to my desk, and that's not necessarily a bad thing.
Well, tell Drew to holler. We can.
Yeah, exactly.
He and I we'll break that down.
Yeah, it feels like the gray's been phased out. That's basically what you're saying, right, Keith? That the gray pants are no more, and we should post about that.
It's official. It's official. Okay. You heard it here first. No. I think that last year, I'll say this about Lane, and this is true. This is 100% true, and I think this is why the players love playing for him so much. Like he gives them so much autonomy, and gives them the opportunity to add input on different things, and the uniforms are one of them. And I think last year they just fell in love with the combination of the white pants and the powder blue. And, I will say this. I think we probably need to find a way to balance it a little bit more and get back to a little bit more of the traditional look from time to time. But, I mean, y'all know these young people. They love getting out there, and they watch the Oregons and the different schools and all of that. And I think Lane has a great pulse for that, and allows them to do some of that, which I think is good.
Yeah, as crazy as we might think it is, there's no question that the whole uniform thing can even be a recruiting tool. There's no doubt about it. Young people are very focused on it, whether that's a good thing or a bad thing or somewhere in between. It's just a fact.
Keith, you mentioned that you mentioned getting to a more elite status with Nike. I mean, what does that entail? I mean, how do you do that? Is that strictly a branding and wins and being more apparent? Or is there merchandising dollars or something different than that? How does that actually happen?
Well, it's kind of all of that, Chase. And I'll be honest, I'm learning a little bit about it. We've got Tom Kleinlein, who is our liaison with Nike here, is working with them a lot, and I've been involved in a lot of the conversations too. But there's different levels to it. I mean, you can become more of an elite school with your merchandise and what you sell and those type of things. And for us, that's important to us because we we want to make sure that if a coach is wearing something on the sideline or whatever, that we can have that product and put it in our store and have it available for sale and those type of things. So, but yeah, I think it's all about, your sales, your eyeballs that are on your brand, those type of things. And so we're working through all that now. And our hope is that we can, like I said, enhance that contract at the proper time.
I know because of secondhand sales and things, you don't necessarily know, but what's your hope for how many Ole Miss fans are in Atlanta for the opener?
Well, it's interesting. We've had, I think we sold about 7,500 tickets through us, which, I think the last time we were there, we sold about 13,000 for not the last time, but the last time we opened the season there with Boise, we sold about 13,000. So haven't sold quite as many there. I think if we end up with 10 or 12,000 fans there, I think that would probably be a really good crowd for us for this game. But, hopefully as we get closer to the game, people's appetite for football, gets a little more and they're a little more in tune with it. Our hope is that, folks will come out to the game. But it should be a lot of fun, and I know, our players and coaches are excited.
How are basketball ticket sales just early on? I know you're a little ways away.
Yeah, so I was in a meeting yesterday. I think we sold about 2,500 for the men and about 500 for the women so far. I think the deadline's at the end of this month. So, one thing about Ole Miss people, and I can say this because I'm an Ole Miss person, we usually wait to the deadline to get our tickets. Nobody really gets in a super hurry for that. So we know that those numbers will continue to climb. And I tell you what, couldn't be more excited about both of those programs. I think they're both going to have great seasons.
A lot of newcomers on that basketball team. Have you been out to see any workouts or anything? What are you? I know as a basketball guy, you're curious and probably a pretty good gauge of talent. What have you seen?
I've been out there one time this summer, Neil, and I'm ashamed of that. I want to get out there more, but I was very impressed. You look at them, kind of that old, get off the bus saying. I mean, they look really good. I think we've got a true point guard in Deshaun Ruffin that's going to be, just electric for us. And I think it's a really good mix of returning guys and then new guys. And, I think that's what we're seeing a lot in this day and age with the transfer portal and not just at Ole Miss, but everywhere. But I think they could be really good. I think they like the big kid from Miami that transferred in, and they like the pieces that they have. But it's going to take some guys stepping up and filling some voids. But and I'll be honest, I think this year we're going to probably see what a Kermit Davis team really looks like. I think this is year 4. These are his guys. He's recruited to kind of his style. I would be shocked if we have a guy this year that averages 20 points a game. But I think we're probably going to have 5 or 6 guys that are averaging in double figures. So I'm excited about that and excited to see, what this team could do.
Muscle memory make you just pick up a ball when you walk into the gym to watch practice, still throw a few up every time, or do you how's the back feeling? You able to do that?
Not really. I tell you what I think every time I walk in the gym is how in the world did I used to do this? Because those guys, and they run so fast, they jump so high, they're so physical and strong. You see them with those elbows when they come through the lane, and I really don't want any part of that anymore. But I'm glad we got the guys that can do it.
You mentioned going to the beach. Are you a big reader? Are you just reading books out there? How you passing time at the beach?
Well, first of all, I got a sunburn in the first 2 hours, so that was a problem. But I stayed under the umbrella a lot after that. But with 3 kids, I mean, they're super active. They're wanting to be out in the water. They're wanting to be playing, paddle ball and out on the boogie board and all that stuff. So I try to do that and stay active out there. I'm not necessarily just a lounge guy at the beach. So try to stay active but try to keep the sunscreen on as well.
All right, we got the last question. Ginger in our thread, Keith, wants to know. You can pick your question. No, we're going to do it this way. You can have one condiment for the rest of your life. Only one. What one condiment are you taking?
That one's not even there's not even a close second to ketchup. I mean, you got to have ketchup. I mean, any of my friends will tell you that ketchup is probably my favorite food. So, ketchup, no problem there. Easy one.
Are you a mayonnaise person or not?
Maybe a little bit, like on a hamburger, but not really a mayonnaise guy.
Yeah.
So, like, what all do you put ketchup on? I mean, like literally everything, or just like fries and burgers and hot dogs?
Yeah, do you dip your taco into ketchup?
Yeah, like,
are you
what
crazy about it or what?
Yeah, I wouldn't go that far. but yeah, I mean, just your traditional stuff, like, and I'm a traditional guy eater. I mean, that's what I eat. I eat. My diet's not great, but I love the burgers and the kind of the game fare. So yeah, anything like that, I'm dousing in ketchup, and that's a big part of my diet.
I get made fun of, Keith, because when I was a kid, I would dip Meat Lover's pizza into ketchup, and it's like a sentimental thing for me. And I do it with nothing else. I hardly ever eat ketchup, but I catch more grief on this here podcast over the years than anything else that I do.
Yeah, I don't do that. I don't. Maybe dip into some more marinara sauce, but not into ketchup on gross. Pizza. But hey, mad respect, man. I mean, whatever it takes. I'm a ketchup guy, and if that's what you like, do you.
What about steak?
Well, so I used to dip steak in ketchup, but as I've gotten more refined and more cultured in my older age, I enjoy the steak now for the cut and for the cook. So I don't dip it in ketchup anymore.
So you got hazed about that one when you do.
Yeah, a lot of kind of like your pizza thing. A lot of people made fun of me, so I said, all right, I'm going to stop doing that.
That's good. That's a good thing to stop. Can't do that any more than you can dip pizza in it. That's disgusting. Hey, thanks for the time, man. We really appreciate it. Look forward to seeing you soon.
Absolutely, guys. We'll see you this fall.
Okay. That is Keith Carter, Ole Miss Athletics Director, kind enough to spend some time with us. So that puts the Jordan brand thing to rest.
Yeah, we got a lot of questions answered there, including the Jordan brand. Thanks to knock off the list. Keith always good with his time. Appreciate him doing that, hitting a lot of different topics there over the course of half hour. I really noticed that, but
I will tell you, deadsoxy.com. We can go to the promo code Rebel Grove at checkout. They're back with us. Get 25% off your entire order at deadsoxy.com. The no-shows, the traditional socks, the specialty socks, all of that at deadsoxy.com.
Podcast also brought to you by Community Mortgage, Oxford, Memphis, Soto County, and Chattanooga. You get all underwriting and processing done in Memphis. You're getting local underwriting to understand your market, a leader in condo financing, the float down option, and more. You can find Jason at 662-234-2704 or JLOWE at communitymtg.com.
What'd you think of the whole Big 12, Pac-12? They're admitting they're going to get together. They're going to talk. The last time the Pac-12 was interested in taking some Big 12 schools. If you're the Pac-12, are there any of the leftover schools that interest you at all?
Are there any Big 12 schools that interest me if I'm the Pac-12?
Yeah, if you're the Pac-12, are there any of the leftover, the irate 8?
Yeah, I still think that given – for multiple reasons. I think the only three that do anything for me, but I would have interest in Iowa State, Kansas, and Oklahoma State to differing degrees.
Yeah, I can see
But
that.
I think those are the three that whatever. Past that, I have no interest in any of them whatsoever. I mean, none. Texas Tech does nothing for me. Frankly, I'm Baylor next, and I mean Baylor's a shit show. Baylor would scare me to death.
It's funny. Yesterday, a lot of people in the media kind of took some pleasure watching the Texas state legislature or whatever grill Texas athletics director.
Mm-hmm.
And it was funny, but it was petty.
It was.
And after a little while, it was really petty. It was grilling your ex-girlfriend after she's dumped you, and she's just decided she's going to take the high road and take it, and she's not going to fight back.
And she's dating someone better than you.
Yeah, and the guy she's dating is like this. Yeah. He's just the whole package.
Yeah, he's rich and better looking than you are.
Rich, better looking, great family, the whole deal. Really nice guy.
I love the politician asking him what his budget was for athletics, and then basically say even with that crap football team, that was good. Pointed out that he was 3-7 against TCU in the last 10.
Yeah, that's kind of what I mean. I mean, after a minute, it just kind of got petty, and you could almost see Texas going, see? Mm-hmm. See what we've been dealing with?
Yeah. When we get out of here.
Yeah. Not going to say anything. Going to take it today.
I know.
But I'm with you. I don't know. I guess you could tell me Kansas to the Pac-12 makes sense. I'm having a hard time with Iowa State in the Pac-12.
Yeah,
and it's not
I
geography.
think Iowa State's going to the Big Ten.
I do too. It's not geography. It's
frankly,
fit.
I think Kansas and Iowa State are going to the Big Ten. And I think Oklahoma State and somebody else finds a landing spot out west.
And I'm going to stick with my prediction
Okay.
that there is a Pac-12 defection group that goes east, some to the Big Ten and some elsewhere.
Including the SEC.
I think the SEC is very much on the table.
For anybody beyond SC?
Who?
I think that's it.
I think that's it. The only other program that I could see in the SEC because of the television market is Arizona State.
Okay.
It's a huge TV market.
But do they push it? Does it do enough to actually make you believe you get those eyeballs, though? Because Arizona State's a very just average size program, fan base.
Yeah.
That doesn't necessarily mean you're grabbing Phoenix just because, I mean, that's like going, hey, we want Northwestern because that gives us Chicago. I mean, okay.
Yeah, I don't know.
Sure.
I kind of go back.
I mean, because frankly, we've seen that actually is a misstep. Rutgers, Maryland.
Sure.
Everybody goes, hey, you get into this footprint? No, you didn't. You didn't get into the footprint at all.
Not at all. You would in that scenario. You would get into the footprint. If you've ever been out there, you know that Arizona State is bigger in Arizona than Rutgers is in New Jersey.
Oh, of course. Yeah. But look, it's a neat fan base and place. I mean,
it's interesting. Phoenix is a cool town. The whole deal. I don't know. Kind of, I get more and more affirmation just sort of reading the tea leaves that my prediction has a chance. And then the other one that I haven't ruled out is the master plan where Michigan and Ohio State programs like that go, okay.
Let's all just go one.
What do you think?
Yeah. Jace is feeling bad for Texas. It's like having pity on a Kardashian. It's hard to do. Yeah, look, there are limitations to our pity on the University of Texas. They're very much centered on what we're discussing.
I will say that the congresswoman in Texas makes a good point. If you're 3-7 against TCU, God help you against Alabama. I mean,
well, I feel like that's kind of what she was doing. Going, hey, okay, have at it.
Have at it.
You think you're gonna be better than 3-7 against Georgia?
Yeah.
Okay.
Have you watched Georgia? Yeah, it's kind of like that. There's a little bit of okay. Because she's like, what is your budget? And he's like, 225, 230. Yeah. Where's that rank? First. So you're going to make even more.
Yes.
That's with the losing football team.
She'd been waiting on that one all day.
She was ready.
It was so chambered up and ready.
It was. So. But, if you're pissed off and you're going to get one shot at it, you got to take it.
Yeah.
I mean, be petty. You do wonder, where does TCU go? They fall off the map. They have to call the American.
That's their. I mean, it wasn't too long ago they were in the Mountain West.
Yeah, they should call the American and get in with Memphis and Cincinnati and UCF. And I think UAB is going to join. By the way, have you seen UAB's new football stadium?
You told me about it, but I haven't seen it.
I've just seen it from the interstate, but I'm impressed. It is fantastic.
Their facilities overall are pretty damn good. I mean, their baseball team plays at that downtown stadium, Regions Field. Is that what it's called, or whatever?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to be honest. If you're a D1 athlete that is not quite good enough to play in the SEC,
UAB,
from a football standpoint, that would be my friend Kane Womack would not like me saying this.
Yeah,
but damn that, and they've got a facility down there that's supposedly really nice. I need to go see it.
Yeah.
But it'd be hard to beat UAB if you couldn't go to Alabama or Auburn or Ole Miss or Tennessee or whatnot. If you were just one click down, boy, it'd be really tempting to go play at UAB.
Yes, Stanford is very private, Jay. They will be happy to tell you about their privacy.
Yeah.
It's Stanford.
They're more private than you can imagine.
Yeah. I do think we have a few years of 16.
Yeah, I do too.
And then whatever happens.
A few meaning more than one.
So even a couple's in play, in your opinion.
And then after that, I'm all bets are off. The money is what sticks out to these people. That's what more and more you talk to people. They're like, so the SEC is going to make.
Well, I mean,
much?
Look, and we didn't press him on it. And I mean, I don't want to put words in his mouth. We'll ask him maybe to clarify at some point. We have him on the podcast again. But maybe Keith kind of said that. He goes, hey, yeah, we really want to work on attendance, but some of these people are gone. Hey, those broadcast rights, I mean, that's kind of what we got to be as marketable as possible for the television.
Well, you heard
15 years ago, it was no, we got to get butts in seats, and now it goes no, we got to get dollars on the TV.
Yeah, got to enhance our brand.
Yeah,
we've got to be solid. So one thing Keith did say, I'm thinking about it as we kind of jump around, and we're going to talk to Chance in a minute. Chance Campbell, not Chance. What do you'll see. You're now Chase, Chance, and Chet.
And Seth.
I'm just Neil and Nick at this point,
yes.
right?
You only picked up one alter ego to this.
But you do wonder, like, how do you do that? How do you go 2 seasons without a side of your stadium?
I mean, they played the 0-1 season without a south end zone.
Yeah, because I came up for one of those games.
Eli's first year as a starter was without the south end zone.
And that was a weird look.
Was it just the one? I want to say they did it in just maybe one and just a piece of another.
I don't know. I know that the 0-1 season, because I came up for a game.
I was sitting just next to that end zone when they played Murray State in the opener in 0-1, and I remember it being whatever, because Eli set like the SEC record for most completions in a row or something that night. Would have kept going. He hit Joe Gunn in the helmet with the next ball. He dropped it. Oh, you're losing. Look, but ticket sales wise, you're losing. I mean, but I mean, it is the most. I mean, as much as you can be, it's part in our progress. I mean, that's an exciting thing overall.
Oh, sure.
It just takes a minute.
Sure, it's just the whole 2.
And look, you've got to play in it. You can't go put your home games in Memphis or Jackson or.
Jackson's not playable anymore.
No.
That's not an option.
No, there is no option.
Yeah, and Memphis isn't. You can't go play your home games in Memphis. That won't work. Jackson's not an option. There is no other option.
I mean, there seriously aren't.
I mean, frankly, there's not one.
In your mind, you're going like, see if State will do you a favor or something.
No. You couldn't do that. I was in my mind wondering about playing a game at UAB, but I don't
doing some sort of tour across the South.
A little bit.
You can't. That's asking too much of the kids, too.
Yeah, it's asking way too much of your program. I mean, you play a game in Nashville.
Yeah.
I don't know how you would go about doing all that. Plus, you want to be able to recruit. You want to be able to bring the kids to campus and show them, hey, look what we're doing. Notice that there's no stadium there?
Yeah,
well, that's because
this is what it's going to look like. Here's
rendering. So that's not really doable. Yeah. Maybe you go down from 7 games to 6 or something, but
yeah. We're going to talk to Chance Campbell, Ole Miss linebacker, in the introductory interview for that. We're excited to have him this season. Every single week during the year, you will hear from him on this here podcast. So the first one here coming up, Neil recorded with him yesterday. I believe that's correct. 2 days ago.
Yeah, yesterday around noon.
Okay, so pre-recorded, but hang on the stream. You'll get to see him, get to see Neil and his wonderful interview magistry that's coming up.
Yeah,
and We'll have that, and we'll be back to close the show with you as well. So here is Neil McCready and Chance Campbell, Ole Miss linebacker.
Ole Miss linebacker Chance Campbell, kind enough to join us. This will be the first of many visits between us and Chance over the course of this fall. We're going to talk to Chance during camp. It's going to be pretty sporadic because he's got camp and it's preseason and it's super busy, and the time is pretty much completely consumed by football and meetings and such. But once camp is over and we get into the season, we'll figure out a time, probably early in the week, each week, when we'll spend 20 minutes or so together, and we'll bring that to you. I know all of you out there on our YouTube channel are interested in hearing from Chance over the course of the season. We are too. This is brought to you by the Rogue, by the way, the Rogue 4450 I-55 North in Jackson. We'll be telling you about specials at the Rogue throughout the season. I've got Chance's in Maryland right now. I've got a package of gear for Chance right back here that he'll be wearing, be modeling. Have you ever modeled before, Chance?
No, I think they find better looking dudes for that.
So he'll be modeling a little bit over the course of the year, some different stuff from the Rogue. So we'll get that to him when he gets back into town. But first of all, appreciate you doing this. Excited about it. How you doing?
Good. Yeah. Thanks for having me. I'm excited. This whole NIL thing, never really done anything like this. So excited to be on here and learn from you and talk to some guys. So
I'll start here. I'm curious, when this whole NIL thing happened, did you even give it any thought? I mean, did it even cross your mind that, hey, this might impact me, or how could I, benefit from this? Or did you even think about it?
Yeah, to be honest with you, not really at all. I know it was kind of in the works. I know people had been talked about for a bunch of years now, and then people were saying like rumors are starting that it was going to kind of come to fruition. But having moved from Maryland to Oxford, like kind of in a new area, I didn't really think that thought I might have a couple opportunities at Maryland since I'm from Maryland, been there my whole life. So moving to Oxford, I didn't really think too much of it. So I didn't I didn't really pay any attention to it. And then, so it's kind of interesting to see like what ends up coming of it.
So let's start with your career at Maryland a little bit. You signed with Maryland out of high school. That was with Coach Durkin, is that correct?
That's correct. Yes.
What was that like? I know you had a handful of other opportunities. What was it about Maryland that you liked then? And we'll start there.
Yeah. So that was I wasn't a super highly recruited guy. Maryland was my first offer. And it was my first offer, I want to say February of my junior year. So after I had played my junior season. So that was kind of always stuck out to me because there's a time when you're in high school and you're not like, you feel like you can play the next level, but you might not necessarily have the gratification of people telling you that you can. And so when that first one came down, you're like, oh, cool. Like this is something I could maybe do. And then my recruiting didn't really go crazy like a lot of guys see. So it just kind of stayed pretty constant, but that was a place near home. I'm a big homebody. I'm home right now. All those things kind of added up and had that be the right place at the time.
You had a really solid career there. At what point did you start to think, hey, I see guys out there doing the grad transfer thing. I know you're a good student, probably a really good student. You were getting out of school quickly with your bachelor's degree. Did you start to think, hey, I could look around, or at some point did you think I'll pursue my master's at Maryland and continue to stay here? What was sort of that process like?
Yeah, so luckily I had a lot of guys older than me on the team when I got there told me about like the importance of getting classes kind of done and under your belt. And the reason being was for me at the time to kind of pursue a master's. So try to get everything out of a scholarship because I feel like a lot of times it's really easy to kind of just skate by and not really get much out of your education. But like really lucky being an athlete, having that taken care of. So kind of like go out and get the most of it. So I was kind of chugging at classes early, trying to graduate so I could go pursue a master's. And then just so happened to be that when you do that, that kind of opens up some grad transfer opportunities as well. So that wasn't like on my mind. Just kind of one of those things that kind of fell into place.
I'm going to backtrack a little bit because we'll get back to this because I wonder if the two things are tied in a little bit. I've told this story about me a year ago, about this time. We're recording this on Monday, August the 2nd. About this time a year ago, Chance, and I'm sure you remember it well, there were a lot of rumblings that, hey, the football season's really in jeopardy due to the COVID pandemic. Specifically, there were some strong rumors that the Big Ten, the Pac-12 were almost certainly leaning towards opting out. You were getting ready for, I guess at that time, kind of getting ready for whatever was to be at Maryland. What was going through your mind when I know you're not a big social media guy, but come on, we were following the story. You were aware of it. What was on your mind when you were thinking, so I'm getting ready for a season that might not happen, probably won't happen? What was that like as a player?
Yeah, it was a really strange process. So we had actually been, so it started we obviously didn't do spring ball. And then came back for workouts in June. And that was one of those things that was weird because it was like nothing. And then boom, it's like, hey, we're going to start working out in the next week. So you're like, okay, cool. Like things might start happening, going through workouts. Like those are strange. Like, so you're lifting outside, everything's spaced apart, but you kind of thinking to yourself, you're like, man, college football is just, my thought was it's too big to fail. Like there's no way that we're not going to play season. But then you get closer to camp. And it's like things are still like you can't play football 6 feet apart. Like you can't not be in a locker room together. So it's kind of strange. You're like, I wonder when it's going to click. And then we actually kind of jumped into like a little pseudo camp early. I think a lot of teams did where you were allowed to do like football related things. So we were doing that for a little while, but then you start hearing these murmurs that's like not going to go down. And it's like that was really strange because you go into the facility and it's like, okay, this is happening. And we were actually quarantined in a hotel. So at Maryland, we weren't at our place. It was like that was a different experience as well. But we were in a
The
hotel.
whole program's in a hotel?
Yeah, we were in a hotel for I want to say I could probably pull it up and get you an exact date, but we were in the hotel like the back half of July,
Oh my
which
God.
was and it was weird. So like I have like I said, I'm not a big social media guy, but I had a bunch of my buddies are in different places now, and so we have these things called like I don't know if you're familiar, but like Snapchat memories.
Oh yeah,
So
yeah.
like like a year ago
Snapchat. I'm
today.
aware of Snapchat.
Yeah, so like a year ago today, so I started sending something to some of my buddies, like us in the hotel. But there's this weird thing where like you're at the facility, and you're like, all right, there's gonna be a season, and then you get back in the hotel, you like cut the TV on, like go to ESPN, and then you start hearing the rumbles. Then someone pulls out their phone on Twitter, and some analyst is like, this isn't gonna happen. And so it's like you kind of go back and forth, and it's just like it's kind of crazy.
So when the announcement got made, I remember it vividly. My daughter had just gone back to college. My wife and my other two kids went to Birmingham to visit her sister, and I got a call. I've told this story on the podcast a ton of times. This will be the first time you've probably heard it. I got a call from somebody who pretty close up to the SEC who said, "Hey man, I don't know." And I said, "What do you mean you don't know?" And he said, "I don't know." And I said, "Is there going to be a season?" And he said, "We're going to try, but it doesn't look good." And this was on the heels of it was on a Sunday. It was on the heels of the announcement that the Pac-12 was not going to play, and the Big Ten. I might have the two leagues confused, but one of the leagues had announced it wasn't going to play, and the other league was announcing the next day that it wasn't going to play. And it was just such a depressing feeling, I mean, as someone who works in sports media, what was that like for you? Because for you, it impacted you far more than it did me. You played for a Big Ten school. When the announcement is made that, hey, the Maryland Terrapins are not going to have a football season this year, what was that?
Yeah, that was
that moment.
Yeah, so I want to say the Big Ten came down with the first, and the Pac-12 was the next day, because I kind of remember. Well, I remember the first shock because I remember like a few months earlier when like in March when things were when things were kind of first happening, like how there'd be a big school. Like I remember the Ivy League canceled their tournaments, and then it was kind of like a rumble. So I remember being like thinking in that moment, like I wonder what those guys are feeling like. And then fast forward to I think it was like August 5th or something like that, maybe
somewhere in there, yeah.
Yeah, somewhere around there. Like the Big Ten said it. I think we were the first, and we finished a practice the day before, then didn't go out to practice. So that was one of those things where it's like something isn't right, because we were supposed to be in pads. They stopped that process. I don't know if you remember that, but we were that acclimatization period, supposed to go 2 days of helmets and then pads, but we never even made it into pads. So I remember they canceled it, and guys were kind of like looking left, looking right, and like we were still in the hotel at that point. And so like emergency Zoom meeting, like guys are like, all right, yeah, out of the hotel by tonight. Like if you need a place to stay, you can stay there, but if not, like we're done. So like guys are kind of looking around like, yo, like what do we do? And so you're just like kind of hoping it's not real.
You ended up having a season, and we'll talk about that season over the course of future conversations with you, because I am absolutely fascinated what it was like from a player standpoint to play a Maryland Penn State game, for example, at Penn State in an empty stadium, because that's not what you sign up for, right? I mean, you sign up to play in front of 100,000 people, and whether you play for the Nittany Lions or to be, the enemy inside that arena. I mean, one way or the other, there's a high to that. What is it like? And we'll talk about this a lot more over the course of the years. We talk about different things and different games and such, but just what was that like playing in front of these completely empty stadiums?
Yeah, so I'll kind of hammer on Penn State real quick, because that's kind of a funny situation. So my dad actually played football at Penn State back in the 80s. So played for Joe Paterno. Yeah. So like that, when I was real young, that was kind of like, you obviously want to be like your dad, and that was a big place for me. And then things didn't really fall into place there. But I always just kind of remember like always keeping an eye out for that game, because like just like you said, there's always a crazy atmosphere. Like they're a national brand, and then there's like that little like personal kind of tie into it. And then the year before, we had a Friday night game that just that one still is up under my skin, but did not go the way that we wanted at all. And so kind of like the next year, like, all right, ready to go. And so we come out firing, and it's just weird because that Beaver Stadium is normally like electric. Like they got the music bumping, but you can barely hear it because people are screaming. And I remember one of my really good buddies, Ace, he's a Georgia Tech now. we had a play where he had got real lucky. He had a strip sack. Like I lucked out, was in the right spot, like no one was around. So picked it up, ended up scoring, and we were both in the end zone and like looking at nobody. And like we were just kind of like hanging out there, and like it's one of those things you're excited because the game's going on and you're just like, this is not what I thought.
Yeah. It was like watching dress rehearsals.
Yeah.
A scrimmage where, right before the season starts, most every team in the country plays a kind of a very controlled intra-squad scrimmage in the uniforms and stuff so that you go, you get all your pregame stuff done. I mean, everyone does the same thing. And, that's kind of what it looked like. And it just had this.
That's what it felt like. Yeah, it felt like like a scrimmage that just meant more.
Yeah. All right. So you made the decision. You graduated from Maryland. I know you weren't in the portal very long, I don't think. Did you go into the portal pretty much knowing where you were headed, or what was that experience like?
No, I mean, so I went in the portal having like an idea of places that I thought might fit. And so you do a little bit of research, make sure, because the portal is like a tricky place. And so like it's not always super fortuitous. Like a lot of guys don't get exactly what they think they're going to get out of it. And so it's just like, you don't want to get stuck. So you want to have things that you think might work, but you never really know because you can't do anything until you get in there. But I did know that I wasn't going to be able to be somewhere for spring ball. So I did want to make that decision quickly though, because I wanted to learn the playbook. I wanted to like pay attention to the team, like try to best I could, like understand some of the dynamics there. And so like I knew that when I did get in that I wanted it to be like a quick process. So those, I think it might have been 2 weeks, maybe just under 3. Like a lot of phone calls, a lot of research. Like it was a kind of hectic couple weeks.
When you made the decision about Ole Miss, what was it that steered you towards Ole Miss? I know that you knew Coach Durkin. He's the defensive coordinator at Ole Miss now. I'm sure that played a role in it, but what else kind of played a role?
Yeah, that place just really checked off every box that I had. So, I mean, I have a lot of Big Ten pride playing the Big Ten East, but there's always that question, Big Ten East or SEC West? And so, like, I knew that I wanted to go play the best football that I could. And the SEC West is definitely there. So that was huge right there. Just like you said, Coach Durkin was there, and I liked everything that he's about. I liked the defense that they were running. So that checked out for me. I know I developed as a player. He's one of the smartest football coaches I've ever been around. And that staff kind of follow the same suit. Those guys are just geniuses from the top down. So I was going to learn a lot there. And then I was also a place that like really cared about football. Like kind of like you always see the tagline, like it means more. But it, like, I mean, having been down there, it does. Like guys on the team care about it. Like, I mean, not that guys don't everywhere, but it's just like there's not as much going on there. So it's like that's it. So I like all those things just added up, and it just ended up being like a really great fit.
So I know you've been in and around Oxford since late May, early June. What have your impressions been of Oxford, of Mississippi, of the South? Is how much of a culture shock, if at all, is it from Maryland to Mississippi?
Yeah, no, I've never been to that part of the country. Like I've never been that far south, so it was definitely new. The humidity got me a little bit. I thought I knew humidity. Like living not too far from DC, like it gets pretty hot and pretty humid here, but that it hits you right in the morning as soon as you walk out the door. So that was something that was kind of funny that you know about, you read about, but you get there and you experience. But life down south to me is just a little bit slower, which I really like. It's not as rushed. Like you still get your stuff done and you're still getting at it, but like the pace of life's a little bit slower, which I enjoy. People are super friendly. Southern hospitality is a real thing, so that's pretty cool.
What about the team? How when you join a team as a transfer, I'm sure there's a little bit of, I don't know what the word is, maybe not trepidation, but maybe you're a little anxious because you don't really know, how guys are going to accept you. And obviously when you come in as a grad transfer, they're not bringing in, let's be real here. You're not bringing in grad transfers from Big Ten programs to sit on the end of your bench. You're bringing those guys into play to plug into a role, not to be a project. So you're coming in, and obviously the coaches are bringing you into play to play a role. How readily accepted were you by your teammates? What was that transition like to go from being, a team leader at Maryland to, hey, a new guy at Ole Miss?
Yeah, no, that was something that I definitely had a lot of concern about because it's only natural that there might be a little bit, like a little rub there. but it really wasn't. And that's not like me being on a podcast saying it. Like it was, I was shocked that there really wasn't, like, before I even got there. It's like tough to single guys out, but like Lakia Henry, one of the nicest dudes. I mean, that whole linebacker room, top down, those are all solid dudes. But I bring him up because he actually called me, just asked how I was doing, like out of the blue. I remember I was in the kitchen with my mom, got a phone call, didn't recognize the number, and it ended up being him. He's like, "Hey man, just like really excited to have you down here. Just like want to know how you're doing." And like that's an example I can point to. But like I've had an example like that with everybody in the linebacker room, and then guys in the whole locker room are really great about it. And I think that's something that like I don't even know if I could hope for it to be as good as it is there. So that was really cool. And then I think part of it is a little bit of role I have to play. So I was a leader at Maryland, and that's something that I took a lot of pride in. But I think I like have said it to some of my buddies when I talk about the experience. But I think there's like an art of being a new guy. So like coming into a locker room, there's an art to it. Like, you know, like listen, don't talk as much, get to know guys, just kind of follow, understand, and then really just help the best way that you can. But you can't do that unless you listen and you understand the situation. So try to do my part too.
Which is interesting because I'm wondering if the coaches, when they brought you in, when they signed you, part of one of the things they liked about you, obviously they think you're a player and all of that, but did they want you to come in and be a leader? And if so, how does that process work in your mind?
Yeah, I mean, I would hope so, because that's something that I think I have some good leadership qualities, and without pat my back too much, but I think that's one of those things that'll develop naturally. So again, like kind of going back to the whole art of the new guy, I don't think you come in and start barking too much. I think you just come in and then like really, I mean, that never really was my style anyways. It's always kind of a lead by example kind of gig. And then like, I'm always a big fan of kind of like take one, touch one. So grab a dude. And if you think you can help somebody out, like grab one, help him out the best you can, then try to like set him on a path to go help somebody else. So I think doing that in the off season, and then if it's going to be that in the regular season, I think a lot of that has to do with just play. So it's one of those things. It's like, I don't really put too much emphasis on it, because if it's going to happen, it'll happen. You know what I mean? So I'm going to do my best to set a good example and try to help guys the best way that I can. And hopefully that falls in line.
I know you report to Oxford later this week. You got to start camp late this week, early this weekend. I'm not sure on specifics. It doesn't really matter. You got a month to get ready for your season. What is camp like at the college level? What do you anticipate with a Lane Kiffin camp as opposed to what you experienced at Maryland?
Yeah, I'll be interested because everybody does things differently. I think camp is universal in the sense that it's a grind. Like you get up early, you go to bed late, and between those hours, it's all ball. So that's when I was a freshman. I think it happens to a lot of freshmen. Like that's what you want. You're excited for it, and then you get it, and you're like, that's a lot. So that's something that now, like you get older and you understand, you kind of accept. But then like once you get a little bit older, it's something that you really enjoy, because there's really not any distractions. Like you don't have to worry about school, which is like awesome. Like, cause you're just all ball. You don't really have to worry about anything socially, cause you're with the guys the whole time playing ball. And like, you have a pretty singular focused goal, which is just getting ready for that first game of the season. So it's like, it's nice, cause it's one of the few times in life that you can really just dive in on your craft, which is pretty cool.
No, you weren't part of the defense a year ago. Obviously you were playing at Maryland, but they struggled on defense at times, especially throughout the early and middle part of the season. I thought they played a little better towards the end. But I was talking to Jalen Jones the other day at SEC Media Days, and he was like, look, there's only one way you can make the criticism go away, and that's to play differently. It did seem to be, talking to him, talking to Matt Corral, it did seem to be there's a kind of a chip on the shoulder a little bit. There's still something to prove. There's a renewed confidence inside that building. And again, I know this is impossible for you to make the comparison in years because you weren't there, but when you're around those guys, do you sort of sense those themes?
Yeah, absolutely. I think those guys, Jalen's a perfect example since you brought him up. I see him around the facility, iPad in hand, watching tape. And he's not the only one. That's the norm, not the exception. Guys getting in extra work because they feel like there's more to prove, because we didn't have the year that we would have liked to have had last year. And I think, like, I obviously wasn't a part of it, but watched a lot of the tape, and this, like, we did trend in the right direction. So, like, I think that guys are proud of what we have, but aren't necessarily proud of what we put on tape last year. And I think that's a cool thing to have, because, like, you're pretty sure on what we got. So, I mean, I'm new, obviously, but I see the guys that we have around. We have all the right pieces. We have the right scheme. We have like things are going to fall in line. So now it's just kind of up to us to go do it. So chip on the shoulder to get you jump started is never a bad thing.
You mentioned playing in the SEC West. You're going to get your taste of it this fall. Is there one or two, we'll talk about this throughout the year because it's one of the reasons I wanted to do this with you is, the fans don't know you yet and they're getting to know you and you don't know the SEC yet. You've never played against LSU. You've never played against Alabama, against Auburn, against Arkansas, whatever. Is there are there a couple of experiences? I know that the stock answer here, Chance, is no, it's one day at a time, one practice at a time. All our focus is on I get it. But in the back of your mind, is there something that you're like, yeah, I do look forward to X. I am curious about X. Is there all those things that stick out?
See, so one thing that I really am excited about is I've heard a lot of things about like a game day in Oxford. So the first game day in Oxford, I'm really excited about. And so it's cool because there's something about every game that we get that I'm super pumped for. Obviously Louisville, first game of the year, get to go back to the East Coast, which was cool, playing in an amazing stadium. So that's the first game, first prize. So that's the one that I'm kind of itching for right now. But then you fast forward and start looking at some of these games and it's there's something special about every one. So I'll make the comparison to the Big Ten just because it's what I know. But sure. There's something special about playing Ohio State in the show. But there's also something special about taking a train up to New Jersey, which is what we did the year before I got there. But that experience going up to New Brunswick and playing Rutgers there, and there was something special when my freshman year when we went to Iowa and they did the way to the Children's Hospital. So there's something really cool about each game, and I'm excited about finding that in the SEC. So finding that special thing in each game. So I'm pretty sure we go to Alabama this year, which will be awesome. I'm working on my geography, but Arkansas and Mississippi they're border states. So that's cool to have a border state thing going on. So there's something neat about each game that I'm excited about.
Well, listen, really appreciate the time. Looking forward to doing this throughout the year. I know that you got camp coming up that's going to occupy you for a little while. When you get through with camp, I think that first game week we'll get you back on and we'll get started with visiting with you weekly. I know that the fans are excited about it and enjoy your time with your family. And I look forward to seeing you later this week. I'll get this gear to you for before you get cracked into camp, and then we'll go from there. Thanks a lot.
Absolutely. Thank you.
That's Chance Campbell. We'll be back with him throughout the entire football season here at rebelgrove.com and MPW Digital. And that interview is brought to you by The Rogue. Each week, The Rogue is your destination for fine men's clothing. Their stylists hand-select pieces from top designers from work to lifestyle to nightlife. There's the perfect something for everyone at The Rogue. They've got their college collection, the collegiate collection that's coming out. It's out now. I've got some of it here for to get the chance when he gets back to Mississippi. They've got all the best items from Peter Millar, Martin Dingman, Jack Victor, Halsey, True Grit, Duckhead, and more. 4450 I-55 North in Jackson or therogue.com.
Thanks to Chance for doing that one. What do you got?
So this is Ralph Vacchiano covers the New York Giants. Series of tweets today.
Joe Judge had a rough day today.
Full team brawl at Giants camp with quarterback Daniel Jones somehow at the bottom of the pile.
Yeah.
Joe Judge is absolutely livid. He says he's got the players lined up to run. After doing 100-yard runs and not hard enough for Joe Judge's liking, players are now lined up at the foul line doing push-ups. Goal line, I should say. There is dead silence except for Joe Judge's whistle and his expletives. So many expletives. Now Joe Judge gathered his players around him, sent his coaches away. He wants them all to himself. And now practice is mercifully over. Wow, I've never seen Joe Judge that angry. Actually, I'm not sure I've ever seen anyone that angry.
What happened?
They just lost it.
And the quarterback ended up in the bottom of it.
Yeah, he jumped into the middle of it. Come on, Daniel.
That's his fault.
I know you want to be part of the team, but my man.
No, this is the equivalent of the pitcher going and sitting in the dugout and not catching the pop-up. Get out of the way.
Yeah. When there's
let the linebackers have it.
Yeah, when the Dodgers have a bench clearing brawl,
not.
someone's job is to get Clayton.
Yeah, I don't care what Clayton wants to do.
You're the holdback guy that makes Clayton look like he wants to fight, but he just can't quite get there. That's your job.
I mean, so bet the under on the Giants win total for the season, whatever it is.
The Fighting Giants. Evan Ingram apparently was one of the people at the initial. Whether I don't know if he instigated or not, but he was a participant in the spark that led to the fire.
Yeah, Hunter says Logan Ryan put a dirty hit on Evan Ingram.
Okay. It's just August the 3rd.
It's not great.
We got a month and a week of camp left. Why do NFL teams have such long camps? Is it really necessary?
Some of it is because they weed down off so many players, right?
Yeah, but
they know for the most part.
But you used to do it because guys had off-season jobs and you had to get them into shape.
Sure.
Well, they're in shape now.
They show up in shape.
I mean, have you seen
except for Kelvin Benjamin, our boy, last week?
Have you seen DK Metcalf? Come on.
He didn't let himself go over the offseason.
It looks like he may have worked out some over the offseason.
Yeah.
Does he really need 7 weeks of camp?
Saints social media team yesterday giving pictures of all the quarterbacks, but put them in alphabetical order because they don't know the depth chart. All 4 of them.
Who are the other guys?
Simeon and Ian Book.
Oh,
remember
you're screwed.
They drafted Book.
Yeah. I'm so sorry.
Jameis got this. He looked like he was in a good mood.
Did he?
He was smiling.
He looked good?
Oh, yeah, looked great. On the hoof. I mean,
been lifting?
Boy set in. Bigger, faster, stronger. Strength coach with the Saints really worked hard. Got him ready this offseason.
Really dove into that playbook. Really focused.
Sean's going to fix him. The only hope we have here is going to fix him. What are you talking about? He's going to throw fewer than 15 interceptions this year.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Hope we can really run the football.
Getting hurt in week 6, huh?
Okay, touche. All right. I don't know what we'll talk about the rest of the week, but we will talk about something. But big show today. Appreciate Keith for giving us a good bit of time, and then obviously the introductory interview there with Chance Campbell as he joins us throughout the season. Lively, good crowd in the live stream as well. So appreciate you guys as always, and we'll talk to you again tomorrow at some point. Have a good day. Take care.